Today we are going to drill a hole through 1-inch round stock. This is a solid steel round stock. It's a little bit dirty, but that doesn't matter. So first thing that we're going to need is a hammer, a center punch, a drill, and the correct drill bits. Now what we want to do is take this 3/8 bolt and make it so that it goes through on the end here. If you've been following the buggy build, you'll know what this is for, the rear axle for it. And we're going to need a bolt through on both sides. So in order to do that, we got to drill through it. So first thing that you would do is mark it where you want it. Now I can tell where it's been, where the sleeve has been resting, and so I can see right in the center of that. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it here. And right. Now I'm going to hit it a couple times. I want to make sure that there is a very easy to see indentation. Now I don't know if you guys will be able to see that, but we got a center punch hole there, indentation there. Now 3/8 bolt, 3/8 drill bit. Now we're not going to start that way. First thing we're going to do is use a small drill bit that obviously is too small for the 3/8 drill bit to fit through, but this is to do our pilot hole. So we'll put this in the drill here. Now when we're tightening, the chuck here has 3 slots in it to put the key into. So we're going to tighten one of them really good, and then we're going to move to the second one and tighten it also. You always tighten 2 of them. That gets a better bite on there. It's more even bite. And a lot of times what happens is you tighten one and there's like a little bit of crud or something on the teeth there, and then it just kind of slips the second you start to use it. And then you'll get the drill bit spinning in it once it catches on the steel. So the other thing, the most important thing using drilling, is proper oil. Now this is air gun oil, meant for air tools, and I find that it works really well. I'm not really a fan of using cutting fluid that just makes a big mess everywhere. So I really like using this. It only takes a couple drops and you're ready to go. It's a lot cleaner and it does a really good job. So now what we can do here is we can set this in the vise and start drilling it. But I want to make sure that it's a very straight hole, and so I'm going to use a drill press so that I can go straight down very easily and drill it that way. The other important thing to note is when drilling a hole, your drill bit and your speed. See, if I just go like, that's going to be way too fast. I'll just burn up the drill bit. It'll probably go in like, you know, like a 1/4 inch, and the drill bit be burnt up, and then it's dull and it's useless until you sharpen it again. Alright, I'm going to set this up in the drill press and I'll show you guys more. Alright, we are all set up in the drill press here. Material is clamped in the vise here, and then we got a C-clamp holding it to the table here. We could also bolt the vise down to the table here. There's the slots in it here, but it's just easier to put C-clamp on it and clamp it down that way. So anyways, it's all lined up, so it's going to come down and start drilling there. So we are going to put on the drill bit in the grooves here. Inside here are the flutes of the drill. So we're just going to put it in there a little bit, and it falls a little drip right on where our center punch is. Now start drilling. Now we're just applying just real firm, but not too hard a pressure, and we're not trying to like force the drill bit through the material. Now as you can see, it's getting the strands coming off, and that's exactly what we want to see. We don't want to see little chips. That's drilling quite nicely so far. Now we're going to stop just for a second here. Now as you can see, it's drilled a little tiny hole in there. It looks like it probably goes down about 1/8 of an inch. Now we could have kept going a little bit, but I'm going to apply a little bit more oil, because the main thing with, especially with cheaper drill bits, is the oil. You need the cutting oil. So we're going to add a little bit more, put a little drop in the hole there. And it's really, when you're drilling, it's a matter of taking your time. You can't rush it. You got to take your time to drill a nice hole. So the other thing is, if you're drilling along, like you're going along and you notice that it starts to, you see smoke coming up, just a tiny little bit, stop, let it cool down. The drill bit here, if they're not sharp, even when they are like in proper condition, like super sharp, you're pushing two pieces of metal together. You're going to make friction, and so that causes heat. And the drill bit doing its job is trying to cut. It's not designed to try to make friction, but it's just an after product of it. But anyways, if you get too much friction, you're going to create too much heat, and then you're going to dull the drill bit, and you're going to round off the edges on it, and then it's just not going to drill nicely. So we'll keep going here. Stop right there, add a little bit more oil. Now as you can see here, these strands here that are coming off, it's curling up like that because it's so small. Otherwise you would see it more like spread apart with a bigger drill bit. But this is what you want to see. You don't want to see tiny little chips everywhere. If you see tiny little chips everywhere, chances are you're pushing way too hard with the drill bit, and the drill bit is dull. So also look at the color of these. You see it just looks like it's like kind of a silvery color. That is showing, and like the fact that I can just hold it right now is showing that it's not hot. Like it is a cut. It's not a friction like cut, whatever you want to call it. If this shows signs of like blue coloring, then it'd be way too hot. Way too much heat, you're not drilling it properly. So I'm going to drill the rest of the hole here. As we can see, it goes down a little ways. Yeah, we've got about 1/4 inch through that now. So we're about 1/4 of the way through. So anyways, I'm going to drill the rest of the hole, and we will show you the next step here. Okay, so as you guys can see here, we're all the way through, drilled all the way through it. Now, one thing that I didn't note earlier was when you are drilling and you get a bunch of the, strands all around it, like when you stop, clean them off, with a rag, not your fingertip like I'm doing. They can be sharp, is all I'm saying there. But anyways, it is good so that you're cleaning it so you can see properly and you're not putting them back in the hole when you're trying to drill it out. It's not a huge deal, but it does help. So next thing we're going to do is grab the 3/8 drill bit and swap it out. Now we've got a 3/8 drill bit here, and as you can see, my fingertip here is touching the cutting edge of the drill bit. And just examining this one, it's got a little bit where it's like the tip here where my nail is touching it. I don't know if you guys will be able to see this that well, but it's like it's chipped off a little bit there, so that is going to affect our drilling. It's going to slow it down a little bit because it's not as sharp as it could be. The other side is equal. It's got the same little chip there. But the majority of the surface here, you can see, goes straight across smoothly, and there isn't a lip to it. There is no lip. It's just a straight up and down surface there, and it should cut. Should be good. Yeah, like, I mean, it's a used drill bit, so it's not in perfect shape, but it should work. Alright, we're going to put it in the vise here, or in the chuck here. And same with this chuck, we always tighten two. Now, one thing I'm going to note with the bigger drill bits, the small ones, you're not going to notice it as much. They're more prone to slip. If something something goes wrong, it's more prone to just to slip inside the chuck. But the bigger drill bits, they tend to bite, is what I like to call it, where you'll be drilling along here and it bites the material, where it stops cutting. It gets like, it bites into it, it gets stuck. And in the top here, you've got your belts and whatnot, so it's a fairly strong mechanism here. And what tends to happen is, if this isn't clamped down to the deck here, it will start spinning the vise around. Start spinning it. A lot of times they'll be smashing against this, and the only thing you can do is shut the thing off and try to, you know, get the thing apart from each other. But that is why you always clamp it down. Alright, I'm going to throw it in there and we'll start drilling. Okay, we're all set up, ready to go. So yeah, we've got our pilot hole. We've got 3/8 drill bit in there now that matches the size of our bolt we want to put through. So we're going to put some oil on here. Put it right in between the flutes here. And it drips into the hole there. Goes right through it and down the other hole. Kind of a waste. But lubrication is key here. Now, anyways, if we hadn't drilled the pilot hole, you don't have to drill a pilot hole. It's going to save you a lot of time, and typically you're going to get a straighter hole with it. It's going to be a better hole in the end. It just makes it far easier to drill. If I wanted to, I could have just taken this drill bit right from the beginning and slowly gone through it, but a lot of times what you'll notice is you'll start to get it going on a bit of an angle, these drill bits, it'll take a lot longer because you're cutting a lot more material. Doing it this way, you start with a small drill bit, so you're cutting a small bit of material, then you go with a bigger one, and it finds it really easy to go through it with that hole. So this will actually go through fairly quick compared to the last one. Yeah, that pilot hole also kind of acts as a center, like a center punch sort of hole. So it's a center punch hole when you're using a bigger drill bit. It can be a lot harder to find if you don't make like a really good center punch. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to stop for a second here. Right away what we notice is that it's kind of making a little bit of a skipping. That is the chips out of the sides, and we're also noticing a little bit of smoke, and that is the friction it's causing, because those sides are not wanting to cut, and so it's causing friction. It's rubbing the two together and it's burning the oil. But the only proper way to fix that would be to use a different drill bit or to sharpen this one. For what I'm doing, I'm not going to do either. I'm just, because it is cutting, I'm just going to use it, and it's actually going through fairly quick. So we'll just keep that in mind though. The proper thing to do would be to swap out this drill bit and sharpen it, or use a different one. And there, it got stuck for a second there. It bit the material. It is almost completely through already. We're just going to give it a little rest here, a little bit of fluid. I'm going to blow all those chips out of the way. There. That should be good. And this time it'll go through, I'm sure. And it got stuck again, it's bit the material, so we'll shut it off. Now that is probably because of the sides being chipped. Now I'm just going to turn it back like that, and there it comes loose. There. Now as you can see, if this wasn't clamped down, it'd be whipping around in a circle the second that happened. So we'll give it a little bit more oil. The chips here that we're noticing, if I can find some, see, they're not huge because it's like they're not like long strands. They're about the right size. They're chipping off, and that's because of those chips on the end there. It's not cutting as good as it could, but it's still cutting. It's going fairly quick, and that is because of the pilot hole. If we hadn't done the pilot hole, this drill bit would be taking forever to go through this material in the condition that it's in. And there it's through. Kind of go up and down a couple times. So we go up and down a couple times just to make sure that it's cleared through and it's not leaving a burr. But anyways, we're going to pull it out of the vise here, take a look at it, and wipe it off. So we ended up getting a little bit of a burr on the end here, but it's not a big deal. It can practically flick it off my thumb, pieces of it. Anyways, we'll just take a file there and we'll just kind of clean it up a little bit. Be super quick. Alright, we just clean that off with the file. And we take our 3/8 bolt here and right through. Perfect. So that is how you drill a hole through thick steel here with the cheaper drill bits. Better drill bits are more prone to not dulling as easy, take a little bit more abuse for sure. But yeah, that worked good. It's a very accurate hole too. So the 3/8 bolt is not sloppy or anything in there. It's real nice and snug. Yeah, so I'm going to drill the next side, but you guys, I'm sure, get the idea. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and that you found it, you're able to learn something from it, and you're doing it the right way. Alright, I'll see you guys later.